Hello,
Hello.
just me.
Hey, Cheryl. No problem that time?
Nope. What'd you do differently?
Same thing.
How come you're always still at school when we have these late hangouts?
I can get more work done this way.
Hmm.
I go home, there's a kid factor.
But like, what about dinner?
Afterwards,
Do you pack snacks?
I do. This is a high school, there's snacks everywhere.
Oh, vending machines. Have we heard from all of the students who are supposed to participate tonight?
Yeah, I've been emailing back and forth with them frantically. Everybody's trying. I don't know. Caroline's here. I see the dog again, Caroline.
She's only half here again. Caroline, can you hear us? Hmm.
Don Lou is in. Hi, Don.
Hey,
So
Hey, Don.
why viewers are fine? Why the three of us? Why Caroline halfway, uh, but not others?
the only thing I can think of is maybe a bandwidth issue on their end, but that's a lot of people
Yeah, why
to
four
have that
people?
issue.
Is there any like that it would could have been like a private versus a public link?
Here's
Or I mean, these
Elena.
are all people
Elena's in too.
you've
Hi,
hung out with
Elena.
before.
Can't hear Elena.
Hi, Elena.
No volume,
Uh,
Elena. And we're not doing. I'm not doing anything different from what we did last time.
it's so frustrating.
It's exact set up exactly as.
If we had paid for this, we could call them and complain.
Yeah, let's get somebody from Google on the horn.
Hmm. Caroline has her image up there, but I can't hear her.
Yeah, no, none of us
Yeah.
can.
Still can't hear Elena either. But she usually has some tricks to try.
Yeah. Oh, Elena's gonna figure this out in no time flat.
She secretly
Hmm.
works for Google.
Yes. She knows Sergey and Larry personally. Okay, guys. So it's kind of put up or shut up time here now that it's 7:09. Should we? I see. I see our participants online, and I can text with them. Now, do we go Skype, which means we can't go live for everyone? Um, let's give them another minute and see if
Could you do like a QuickTime screen capture during the Hangout in Skype?
we could. No, we absolutely could, and I could do a recorder and post it afterwards. Let me. Okay, so it's Tina, Caroline, Storm, and who's our fourth? I should know by now. Tina, Caroline. Oh, Krista. Well, let me just. I'm gonna email them for a second.
How many people will Skype do?
Uh, it'll do
Oh,
8 to 10.
yeah,
We
that's right. It'll do a lot, depending on the bandwidth.
Yeah, if it gets past 12 or 13, it typically kills the video and just goes audio. But come on, Clint.
Oh, my Skype isn't opening now. This is great. Oh, there it goes.
All right, I just asked the 4 participants. I just sent them an email to see if they would be willing to try Skype. But why are we in it? No problem.
The only thing I can think is that we've all Skyped together. I mean, all hung out together before.
Yeah, but we had Storm on last time, and it's a public hangout, so anybody theoretically can get on board. I double-checked that. This is a public one. You know what? I'm going to try this. Jason.
It isn't. Oops. Oops, sorry about that. Was my audio coming across here?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean the
We can hear
basketball.
you. Yep.
Oh, did you
Oh,
hear
no.
the
You're
Maryland
secretly
Princeton?
watching the game?
Oh, I should have looked it on. Yeah. It isn't the case that we got on first, and it's only like allowing 4 people or something.
Hi,
Oh, here
Jason.
comes Jason.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
All right, so I don't think it's a Hangout issue because Jason was able to jump on here, no problem. Right, Jason?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you
Yes,
loud
hi.
and clear. I like the
All right.
poster, too.
You can't see me.
You're secretly watching
I can only see a little bit. Jason's watching basketball, too.
I
I think he's playing basketball.
don't know why I can't get in the screen. Oh, hold on.
You got your external camera.
It's my wrong camera. Sorry.
All right, hey, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Jason. I just wanted to make sure that we could get somebody else in here.
All right.
Because we don't know why.
It just worked for me.
We're trying to figure out why some people can't get in.
Can't see me. There we go.
we can hear you and see you just fine, Jason.
Okay.
All right, so how best to instruct others to try to jump in? Jason, what are you on? You're on a modern PC or Mac and running the latest Chrome browser, right?
Yes to all of that. It's a PC with Chrome.
Gotcha.
And Chrome's updated, I'm sure.
I figured as much. All right. Let's. I'm going to verify with the 4 participants. Jason, thank you. You can feel free to stay on or jump out if you want. We just wanted to make sure.
I can hear it here, so I'll leave it for here.
Okay, great. All right, so I have 1 yes for Skype, 1 no, and 1 maybe.
Hey, so Fran said he can try from a Mac if you guys want to have him try that.
Yeah, I've had one person say they tried a Mac and a PC. I just don't. Maybe is it? I'd love to see people make sure their browser's up to date, but.
Yeah,
I've
that
been
little
on a Mac
hamburger
before.
thing in the top right corner. Sorry, Don, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say I'm in on a Mac with Safari, so.
There's on the top right corner, like under, like my Chrome window has my name, and then underneath that, like on my, just above my toolbar, there's 3 black lines. But if they're orange or red, it means that you have to update your Chrome.
Yep, I just sent an email to the 4 participants to see if they could do that.
Clint says it's in the tech world they call it the hamburger.
Yes, it's the three horizontal lines is the hamburger. It's like 2 buns and a patty.
It's unfortunate that we can't hear Elena still, though. This is so
Yeah.
weird.
Don's playing with the features of
But it's cool. I didn't realize.
All right, you turned it on, Don. I'm just playing with it.
when people send a chat message, if you don't have the chat window open now, a little bubble pops up above their picture. That's kind of neat.
Oh, we may have Storm.
Hi, Storm.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, we
Yes,
can hear you
we
loud
can
and
hear
clear.
you.
Oh my God,
Hey, there she
Hey.
is.
So what did you do?
Tina. I went onto the Lenovo. I went back to the Take-Two, and it opened. God knows why. Probably because it was blown up when we were talking.
You're live, Storm, just FYI. You were live.
Can't hear you, Elena.
And I have so much to say.
And we can hear you, Storm. We can't wait.
I can't wait either. But I got Tina here.
I know, this is such a build-up.
Tina, you still there? Okay. Yeah, I did not shut it down. I'd already shut it down before.
Elena, you still having audio problems?
Mm-hmm. Tina's shutting down.
And restarting? Great. All right, well, Storm, if anybody else can't join us, it's going to be the Storm show tonight.
Oh, great. What happened to all the people who are on here?
Well, we got on, and then I thought it was just a conspiracy to keep students off. It was just instructors. So we tried Jason, and Jason got on just fine once he figured out where his camera was. Right, Jason? Oh, he might have us muted now. So now it's we have you on. So what was the trick, Storm? You restarted the machine, and it worked all right?
I restarted both my machines. I restarted the Mac twice because it's always a pain.
Yep.
And I still can't get on the Mac, but the Lenovo on the second shutdown, it worked when I went to that the Take-Two link. The
Great.
tiny URL didn't work.
Got it. Yeah, the tiny URL was from the first one, which I shut down. So, and Caroline keeps popping up. We see her dog and her, but we don't have audio or video. Well, let's give people 2 more minutes. At 7:20, we're going to start talking, and worst case scenario, we'll have a nice conversation. And we are recording this, so we'll have a conversation, and everybody can take a look who's not viewing. We do have 8 viewers right now. And they can benefit from your words of wisdom, Storm.
Oh, good. Well, I'm going to keep myself in the dark here so that nobody gets that seasickness from my ceiling.
Tina, I see
Hello.
Tina.
Hi,
Hello.
Tina.
Oh, there's Tina.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
We have Storm, we have Tina.
Hey.
All right. And Jason may be sitting in.
No Elena's voice.
That is so bizarre. I've been on this Google Hangout all weekend with people from school.
I know, this is the same issue I was having for the longest time.
I'm starting to really question whether the Hangouts on air is a different, it can't be a different code base, but if something's happening that making it that much trickier, you know, where instead maybe we should just do a regular Hangout, invite everybody.
But even still,
and record it for later. I don't know.
last year we used Hangouts on air. We had none of these issues.
Yep, I know. If somebody knows somebody at Google, please reach
Yeah,
out.
Google's improving.
All right, Tina, Storm, you are the
Yes.
official talent.
Oh, jeez.
And we got Jason.
And you're going to be backed up by Jason, who we're going to put on the
Woohoo,
spot.
Jason.
Hey, Jay.
Because he was not officially warned to prepare vigorously, but we'll let him jump in and add his 2 cents. So.
Oh,
Can
somebody's
you hear
coming
Jason?
in. Oh, there's Caroline.
Caroline.
Yes, I can see you.
I have turned on and restarted every piece of phone.
Well, there's Caroline.
Caroline, you're in and out a little bit, but we started hearing you just fine.
Now we can see you.
I still can't.
I can
Oh,
see her. I see her.
All right, good. Well, Caroline, jump in as you can. All right, Cheryl, let's take this thing away because we've only got 39 minutes left, and we want to have some education here.
So much pressure. Okay,
Yes.
let me look at my notes. It's been a while. All right, so just of those of you who are here, who we can hear, tell tell us just about your experiences before the course, if you had any, using new literacies in the classroom, and specifically with the goal of teaching CCSS skills in mind.
Well, being a history teacher at the high school level, digital literacies came in the form of research and using databases with the help of Storm. It's interesting that we're both on the same Hangout because she helps us out, and we work in the same high school as she's our teacher librarian there. But in the form of trying to do the typical Google search. So that article by Kisk, when it was talking about the collaborative effort, when it was talking about learning how to research appropriately, that was the form of digital literacies that I encountered at my level.
Great. Do we have another? Sorry, Krista, were you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I think we have a full house. Caroline, yes?
Welcome.
Caroline moved.
Sorry, Storm. Take it away.
No, that's all right. I will say that moving to the high school was a bit of a shock because
Looks like we're getting close.
in the when I worked in the intermediate school, we actually had an opportunity to actually directly teach digital literacies, but those kinds of opportunities aren't available in the high school. There's kind of an assumption that kids come with those skills, that they've had a lot of experience, and so it's been very tough in the high school. One of the teachers will say that they expect the kids to do scholarly research, which is different from just going on the internet and trying to find things. So that kind of openness that we have in elementary school isn't available in high school.
Yeah, we've seen that for a number of years. That's been quite interesting. Of course, elementary teachers also have control of their classroom day, too, a little bit more.
As a science teacher, I know I definitely did come in expecting my students to be able to not necessarily evaluate a source, but at least find some sources and get some information from them. And I really didn't see that from them, so I had to restructure a lot of the projects and stuff that I wanted to do with our physics content around going back and teaching how to research online, how to evaluate sources online, and how to really get information. Like kids could read the sentence and recite the sentence verbatim, but they couldn't take that information and tell me what it meant.
Right.
I would echo Caroline. A lot of it is how do I find the quickest answer rather than how do I find what the answer means and how to come about finding that answer. I mean, just recently this past week, what is the answer to this? What is the answer to that? Not as necessarily how to find that answer or what to do with the information you find to find the most appropriate way to analyze that response, but more just quick fix. And so we've had to restructure.
And I thought that was just because can you hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Because I'm in a special ed resource lab, I always thought that was just my students having trouble with understanding how to get that piece of it. But now that I hear you guys saying that, I didn't realize it was broader, because I really don't leave my room. I don't get to see the rest of the population in my school.
One of the things I found really interesting was in the Drew article where she's talking about all the pieces of the Common Core, and the language arts piece tied with the technical subjects. It sort of demands a level of integration that doesn't happen naturally at the high school. As Don was saying, elementary school teachers have control of their classroom and can mix together reading skills with content. But in the high school, the reading people do reading, the content people do content, and they don't really want to talk about dealing with reading of that content. So it's a very hard one to get around. And I think that Drew was the only one who really talked in these articles about the necessity to have an understanding of history and social studies and the science pieces that are implicit in the Common Core.
So has anybody else had any experiences they wanted to share before we move on to the next item? Sorry, Storm, part of that cut out for me, so I'm just going to keep moving forward.
It really is a serious issue, isn't it, at the secondary level, at the high school level? I mean, where the curriculum really is focused on content, and the content is going to increasingly shift to online content, and yet there's so many reasons why access to that gets blocked. And I'm not talking about filters here.
Right.
I'm talking about human blockages and disciplinary blockages and cultural blockages.
I mentor a couple kids in Bridgeport that go to the Information Technology High School, Magnet School, the Fairchild Wheeler ones that just opened up. And so when the kids enter the school, they get handed a laptop, and that's it. All of the textbooks are online, but there's no like supplemental reading skills on how to read an online textbook. And I can't read an online textbook. I have to either print it out or have a touchscreen that I can write on and mark up that way. And so I don't. When my kid came home from his first day of freshman year and said, "Here's my computer," I don't know what to do with it. I kind of said, well, I don't know what they want you to do with it either. Nobody had taught him anything about this is where you should look for this type of information, or this is what you need to be looking for, and this is what we're going to give you, or really any type of guidance at all. So, and even in my own high school, I've seen just kind of throwing technology at the problem and hoping for the best.
Mm.
What a waste of all of those resources if people don't know how to use them.
Actually, at that particular school, they have a lot of like non-techie resources. Like they have a lathe, they have a full machine shop, and no one knows how to use any of that stuff.
Sad.
We use Schoology for the kids to submit assignments for their for English assignments and history assignments and science, and in order for them to do, they have to have the understanding of how to use it, and they don't. Even though the teacher goes through it with them, they still have a hard time with the Schoology getting the assignment and submit it to the teacher.
Yeah. But you know, I do see that there's a change in the level and expertise of the kids who are in the high school. Every year, the freshmen come in with better skills.
I agree with
more exposure, and that's really important. I looked at my 12th graders today and was appalled at the way they file and the way they search and the way they construct their searches. And as Tina says, they want the information, they want the answer, they think it's going to be right there. The 9th graders have more skepticism and consider how to use the tools much more methodically than do the seniors. So there may be a time frame that we're dealing with here, where as technology was adopted by schools, there's more emphasis in those early grades in the integration than there had been before.
Well, and I think
Sorry, I was just going to ask, what did you mean by skepticism? Like they actually take their time, or they know that there's things out there that aren't going to be reliable?
Yes. They are more aware that they can't just find the answer. There may not be just the answer, because teachers are less and less inclined to say, give me a report on Utah, and more inclined to say, why would you go to Utah to ski? So they're forming better questions, and so the students aren't necessarily going, well, Utah has the highest mountain, or Utah has the best lifts. They're having to think about why you might go in a larger context than just facts. So they may not be, they're not aware, they're still gullible, they're not very competent evaluators, but they are inclined to look for more options.
Well,
which
and I
was a
think
good thing.
that's the case of anyone. I mean, if you were to think about these 12th graders that are in our school when they first started education, there was the internet was not a source to be looking for information or to use as an investigative tool. They were using books in a library to find their primary information up through probably the middle school level. I mean, I remember having those 12th graders in ninth grade, and for our French Revolution research projects, we had them use text sources, not internet sources, but text sources. And as these students come up through the ages, they are more inclined to use internet databases, different resources like that, starting younger in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So by the time they get to the high school, they are more practiced, so to speak, in the classroom using those resources. However, with that being said, I do think there is this misconception that because these kids live in this digital age and that they have the internet readily available to them and they have their social media sites and they have their email abilities and Google Docs, that automatically they know how to use the internet effectively.
Right.
So when they come into this high school, there's this expectation that they do know, because there is so many other initiatives that we're broached with in our curriculum and things like that. So for us, I feel, and I was talking about this with Storm earlier today, that we need to almost teach a course on how to use the internet, how to use technology, how to understand how this system works, so all of these kids get that same message, almost like a research methods with technology basis class early on to get them at that same level. Because I think that's something that's lacking at that secondary level, that understanding how to do it.
But my point, Tina, is that I do believe that it's getting better every year.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So it
Like
may
a
be
quick
3
fix.
years of 3 years of remediation, and that's not a reasonable way to design a course for it.
No.
That's why Orca would be really, really good at a high school level.
Yeah.
A version.
So I'm curious, has anybody had a chance this past week or so to try out any of the things that you
Hold on, we're having some technical difficulties. You guys hear me?
Yep.
about in the
Cheryl, you were a Cylon for about 20 seconds. We need you to repeat that.
Okay. Asking if anybody had a chance to try out any of the strategies or techniques that were in any of the articles this past week.
I gave students practice in collaborative writing. I actually put it on our blog this week. We did a project, a simulation with the UN. They had to make a decision on whether or not China should be a Security Council member as of 1972. And they had to come up with their whole presentation, their whole speech, collaborative writing, using resources and things like that. And I commented. There was no physical conferencing with me. I sat on my computer and I just commented on all of their different groups' Google Docs while they were going through it, and we collaborated throughout the whole course of the week.
So you kind of just sat and reviewed, like watched them work in the documents?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Cool.
And they worked at their separate tables. I had my comments going. Actually, they're still commenting tonight because one of the period simulation is tomorrow. And they all broke down the assignment themselves and kind of continued, and they resolved each time that there was something that they put together. So it was more for practice. It was the first time we really did that with my standard sophomore students. And I have 5 basic designation students in those classes. So it was trying to work with them and how to do all this together. And I saw their support teachers were actually on in the Google Docs too. And I'd go back in the revision history and see each time they commented or changed things throughout.
Cool. So the kids were actually sitting in the class silently working.
Well, not all silently all the time, but they were
Okay.
working in the Google Doc, yes.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question, Tina? What was the information space? This was any internet resource that they wanted to use?
They started with our textbook, basic information, and the resources that I gave them online, and then I gave them 3 or 4 websites that they could use, and then they went off on their own naturally because when they came.
Ultimately, Google was an option.
Yes.
Gotcha. Very cool. I can't wait to see what they came up with.
Well, it was interesting for one of the classes today.
I don't know if it would be possible, but it would be interesting to step through. I love the revision history. I'm sorry I'm jumping in, but this is totally some of the work that I want to do. If you could step through that revision history, start before, and then start to see as different things come through, it would be interesting if you could track the conversations they're having, if they're in the same physical space, with that type of work that is happening overall through revision history, because it really is that way to unroll or repackage the work that's being done online. It is a very handy feature. I'm happy that you're using that.
Well, it's a good way to monitor who's doing what on the work too, and it's not just one person.
Sure.
Do you think that Google's revision history is totally accurate, though?
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
Because
But it's close enough.
I have never found it to be inaccurate, but there is the ability to see more or less detail. So I guess if you take just the revision history for as it is, then you will miss certain snapshots.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you get every single one of them if you go to more detail, but there is a way to go see more detail if you want to see the gaps in between more so. That is one thing that I've found.
There's also the edit feature that you can do now. You can add like track changes.
Yep.
Which you didn't used to be able to do, so that's kind of nice.
Interesting.
Great.
One thing that happened. Go ahead. Somebody's starting. Caroline.
It's all yours.
We have just finished our electrostatics unit, and so we in class the kids had to create a lab experiment using Scotch tape to measure the electronegativity of various objects around the room, like literally anything they could stick the tape on. And then I had a couple of leading questions to start out a lab report for them, and so I ended up sharing the Google Doc out to each group, and it was the first time that I'd done a collaborative lab report, and I had a couple issues with kids being like, oh, well, I wasn't in charge of this part, so I never read this part, and so I don't want to get points off for this part because I had a really hard time getting the collaborative part across to them. Like the kids really wanted to split it up, like split up the work and say, you know, this person is in charge of these questions and this section and whatever, but not actually take responsibility for their whole group's work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I wanted to add something about what happened with my seniors, who were given. This is the regular seniors, regular English seniors, and they're doing reading the things they carried, and they're trying to investigate some aspect of the Vietnam War that ties to the text. And I created a website for them which had basically easy databases, harder databases, and instructed them that they should use the easy databases to discover the background for the information so that they could generate the search terms. And they looked up their very, very infantile searches. They got the background information, but instead of going to the more specific databases, they chose to go on Google. And the funny thing was that they didn't refine their searches from the information that they'd gotten from the first databases. They just flew right into Google the way they would have without the previous experience, which was very distressing. I actually had to tell them to maybe consider terms that they discovered to use in their Google search. And when they did, they got much better results. They still are unable to determine what's the difference between a web page and something that you get via the internet, which is kind of a hard thing to get. But your work on new literacies has been concentrating so much on Google and the web that it really, kids have a fundamental misunderstanding of what the internet versus the web is. So I find that one a little hard to get over, and I wish they understood it earlier.
I'm just curious, Storm, if you don't mind me following up. What are the components of the internet, or is it because it's commingled in a web search results, what are the non-web components that you think they should be accessing, utilizing as part of their research process that would better clarify, or that you've experienced?
Well, I think that they need to know that there's a difference between the hidden web and the paid for, databases or information that we can get by doing deeper searches than just the straight out Google search.
Got it.
And so they just need to know that there are more places to go.
Got it. So it may still be web technologies, but it's more paywalled repositories that we need to grant them access to, or at least inform them that there's access to, and notify them that they're out there.
And they know, because they always say, oh, do we have to use databases, or can I just go to Google? And it's like almost like a chore to use these databases. And they're like, oh, ABC Clio. That's their favorite one to like almost mock now, because we have this one database. But they don't realize that if they just spend an extra 5 minutes, they probably can find much more valuable information just by refining their search, rather than putting in the question and automatically assuming they'll get the answer in less than a second.
So all these are accessible. These are not paywalled or blocked sites. These are just simply a second non-Google interface that they're forced to go to do that.
No, they are paid.
Okay.
They are paid for.
Is that the same thing that you're seeing, Tina, as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I see it too.
We have a huge research project coming up, like 15% of their final grade, and I told them we're going to have a librarian come in and refresh us about the databases, and it's school paid for databases, so that you can do real scientific research. And they were like, oh my God, we know the databases, like don't make us listen to the databases. Why are you going to make us listen about these databases? And I was like, because you don't use them. You're going to have to keep learning about them until you actually use them. You clearly don't know why you want to use them, so we're going to listen to it again. And they don't want to do that. They just want to Google and go to the first website they see.
Because it's all about finding the information as fast as possible.
Yeah. Well, when you guys were talking about, the first thing that comes up in Google, I've noticed that when you do a Google search lately, they've started giving you like a summative answer to things, like at the top above all the web pages. What is that? It's like a Siri version of Google that just gives you like the first or most well-known. It doesn't give you any nuance, understanding of anything or any references. It's interesting. They're like, feeding into people's need for that like one quick answer.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, because I think we're all the high school level here, is it a societal thing just to find the quick fist answer to get the grade to move on to the next topic? How do we find an effective way to get them to really focus on this research process, to utilize this information appropriately? And I find myself, I'm running out of time, always. I never have enough time to do the things the right way like I'm supposed to do, because there's just too much to do. There's too many different things that we have to juggle around.
Well, I think it's awesome that we have that availability for this like huge amount of information, that we can find stuff in like 5 seconds. But I think that what they don't recognize is this thing that I found in 5 seconds, what's actually going to benefit me. And then instead of persevering and using other additional resources and continuing to search, my kids anyway just kind of give up and raise their hand. They're like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I can't find anything. I can't find it.
I literally have no
That's
idea.
what I have here too. I can't find anything. I can't. There's never anything that. Yeah, that's what I get all the time.
I don't know the answer. I can't find the answer. Can't you just help me?
If they're gonna use it for something, I think that's helpful. So I was observing in the 3rd grade classroom, and they were learning all about monarch butterflies and how this population of monarchs in our area has decreased, and it's all related to these, farmers and what they're putting on their crops and all this. And the kids were doing research and learning about the actual chemicals and things like that. And then they used what they were learning about to actually write letters to the government and ask them to put the monarchs on the endangered species list. And the kids were like really into it. I mean, these were like 8-year-old kids, but I think, if they have, learning just for the sake of learning, and, that's not really very interesting, but if it's something they're going to use and do something that they're interested in, or you can get them interested in, then I think,
It's
it
all about the
resonates a little
question.
bit better.
It's
Yeah.
all about the question. And that's why middle school is the place to do this, because they're so self-involved that if you can find the, the confidence to just go, oh, yeah, cool, I want to learn about that. And they're more willing to do that, whereas the high school is so, devoted to covering curriculum. And I have to say, are the Mayans really interesting to me? I don't think so. It's just not fair.
Hey
But
now,
don't
Storm.
tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you want to get them involved in stuff that they're interested in, but I think if it's something that they're going to use and they have to, actually produce a product that's going to be used for something valuable, I think that's, I don't know.
An alternative strategy that I've seen work at times is kind of the incentive structure, where is the incentive to get the right answer, or is the incentive, are you being incentivized to provide a process that you're doing? I think about the content, and we would love it if we all worked in schools where kids got to work on only stuff that they found engaging, video games, all the time. But that's just not the reality of our world. So I have seen that, where instead of, if we live in a world, especially at the high school level, where what do I got to do to get an A, then maybe we change what you got to do in a way. So it's not ultimately the product, it's the process as well, which is easier said than done, but it could be an alternative strategy.
Absolutely concur with you on that one.
Well, I see that we're running out of time, so I just want to ask, I'm kind of interested to find out what kind of barriers you guys are facing with bringing in some new literacies and technologies into your classrooms, and if any of you have overcome any of those, I think it would be great to share that with everybody else.
All right, I'll just
go for it, Storm.
Go for it. I'll just go for it. When I first started at the high school, I was shocked that the first opportunity I had to work with kids, I had a high school teacher who said, I've got my kids coming in to do some research, and can I bring them in and would you show them how to do it? And I said, what specifically are we dealing with here? And he said, well, I want you to help them find resources, create a good search, do citations, take notes, and, tell me, they got to get good sources. And I said, okay, so how many weeks are we going to do this? And he said, well, I can give you 20 minutes. And I said, oh my God, okay, what am I going to do in 20 minutes? And in 20 minutes, I just asked the kids, what do you do? What do you look for? Where are you going to go to do this project? And they all went, just sat there. And I said, are you going to go to Google? And they went, yeah. I said, raise your hand if you're going to go to Google. And I raised my hand. Everybody raised their hand. And so regardless of whatever the lesson was supposed to be about, whatever the content was, I just did a search with Google Advanced Search and did the Martin Luther King site and asked them to, determine whether this guy was a white supremacist or not. They were blown away. So were the teachers, because they hadn't ever thought about that before. They just hadn't really considered it. So it was kind of, it was a grabber. So it made people acknowledge that they really, it wasn't as simple as saying, go in and find a good source and crank it out. They really had to think about it. So that worked really well the first year. That's my one.
Got it.
I guess for me, the barriers that I have is myself personally. I have all these ideas of what I want to do, but I find myself being limited because there's too much. There's too many approaches, and I feel that even though I'm in these programs and I think that I'm quasi ready to try, and like I'd be more willing to take the next step and to test out things with my students, but to be honest with you, I haven't had the proper training to go through it. I'm constantly working, I'm constantly attempting, but there's a lot on my plate. So to me, to sit there and flesh out a 2-week project where I allocate 3 or 4 days to learn the research process with my teach the research process with my students at a 10th grade, 12th grade level, it's a challenge. So to carve out that time and to have somebody to support and go through that process with me, I think that's the biggest barrier that I have. And I know it seems like such a lame excuse, but it's a reality.
So what do you think a solution would be? Like having like teacher workshops after school, or having
See,
someone come into your classroom?
here's the thing. We had a tech champion program where there were teachers. I was one for 2 years, and I had to step down from the position because of just other things that I was in the pursuit of. But there were supposed to be like teacher trainers to hold these workshops and things like that of how to integrate technology effectively into the classroom. But to be quite frank with you, I don't think they were given the right direction from some of the central office and the people higher above on what they should be doing. So it became more of this break fix type thing, like, hey, my smartboard red light is on, how do I fix that? Or I can't get this program to work, can you help me with it? But not necessarily teaching us how to integrate effective programs and how to work to build these lessons. And then when you want to do something like that, there just wasn't that available time. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is at this point. Give us 3 months off to build something. That would be the best.
I've had a really similar issue to that, and it's compounded by, so I teach physics, and the physics curriculum is really open to interpretation. In fact, I don't think there's a curriculum document for the general level physics class that I teach. And so, because it's so unmoderated, the worst feedback, or the most difficult to get, is the feedback from my students saying nobody else's classes has to do this type of stuff. And the rationalization, well, you have to do this type of stuff because this is going to benefit you in the future, it doesn't work as well as you'd think. So none of my colleagues have any interest in trying to integrate these types of projects. I just advocated and fought for 2 months to have the AP Physics final exam replaced with a big final research and design project, and I won, and so now we have this project that I designed, but I am really concerned that nobody is going to follow through with the kids on how to research and how to critique that research and how to create a literature review and how to design, whatever topic that they choose, how to design something. So now we're going to have this research project, and my colleagues in the district aren't going to do anything.
I think just barriers that I have too, that thinking about this. So I have students from all different levels, from 9th grade to 12th grade, and there's about 8 to 10 kids in my class, and they're working on all different subjects at the same, there's nothing, I don't do anything with the content area. So that's a barrier for me. And then we don't have the resources within my resource lab, if I could say that, I guess. Next year, I think, is going to be better, because what we're doing away with our core classes, so we're only going to have CP and honors classes. So as a resource teacher now, I'll be going into the classes, the CP classes more, which will be great, because now I'll have this new experience. And the history classes and the English classes are who gets the technology. They have the laptop cart. They have the iPads. So now I'll be able to go in there and experience all this. So everyone's kind of really nervous about this doing away with the core classes, but I'm actually excited about it. So
I have one other thing.
Go for it.
Again, instead of just complaining about all of this, I should say that I take great heart in being able to work one-on-one with students when I can. The kids who come in or look like they're stymied, and a lot of kids hang out. when I can deal with teachers or students one by one, the word spreads. And the greatest thing that's happening right now is that with the Common Core, and everybody's getting all excited about SBAC coming in the end of May, and we're getting a new technology director, and so there's talk about what does that actually mean. So I've been able to take a lot of these articles and funnel them to the new language arts or the potential language arts curricular instruction leader. So the conversations, when the conversations happen, it makes it a little more possible to get this happening on a global level.
Awesome.
Yep, that sounds like a great positive note to wrap that up. Thank you, Storm.
It's not all bad at our high school, I swear.
No, if we're not critical of what's not effective and not working, then we can never get better. So no, these are important conversations, even if they do seem overly negative at times. We're just doing our due diligence of identifying what needs to be fixed.
Okay, I want to put in a plug.
Well, we didn't talk about the Common Core very much, but maybe that's good. Maybe people are burnt out on the Common Core. But Clint, did you have questions, or did you want to kind of check in on the MOOCs?
Yeah, if you all will humor me for short here, and we did get started late, so if there's anybody else, I mean, I know we said 7 to 8, but if people want to hang out and talk for a little while longer, I'm more than happy to stay. I'm assuming some of my colleagues are as well, so we'll wrap up at 8, but then we can also do an extended time if people want. Okay, just very quickly regarding the MOOCs, I shared with all of you and also posted on our announcements page just kind of a preview of some of the concepts or ideas around the MOOCs that we're going to be asking for. Again, this is an audit. We don't expect you to be a full participant unless you want to. We don't expect you to do all the assignments in your chosen MOOC unless you want to. But we do want to have kind of a baseline of kind of the demographics of the MOOC and some of specifically the instructional activities and how they relate to the content of this course, New Literacies. So I wanted to give everybody a heads up a full cycle prior to when we would be discussing those, just on the off chance that you haven't revisited your MOOC lately or you wanted some more specifics about what we're looking for when we have that conversation and do some of that work in Cycle D. We wanted to give you 3+ weeks notice just as a heads up. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. The expectation wasn't that you had anything ready for tonight. It was just to give you a heads up and also ample opportunities to ask questions should you need clarification.
I love my MOOC.
Great. Good.
And which one are you in again, Storm?
It's all ties in. Leading the digital learning transition, creating future-ready schools.
Fantastic. Love it. Anybody else want to share their MOOC or just give a very, very quick pitch for what they're doing? This is purely voluntary.
Don't all jump at once.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
I'll talk about mine. I'm doing one that just started 2 weeks ago. It's called Jury X. It's an edX MOOC, and it's really around getting groups of people together to deliberate about topics and see if we can't build consensus for solutions around it. I specifically picked this one because I'm interested in how collaborative groups online actually work through a process of argumentation, which is our link to the Common Core. I missed the first deliberation round for full disclosure, but it was more of a practice round. We're eventually going to get into larger topics, everything from Edward Snowden to global climate change and the like. So I'm very excited about that. So I'll have more information on that in 3 weeks. So there is a link to New Literacies and Common Core as I see it, but it also is a general education MOOC that is there are participants from around the world, and most people are not educators. So I'm finding it very interesting.
How many people are in it, Clint?
I don't know, a lot.
Roughly?
The very first assignment was to post a short description of who you are, why you're here, and a video. Only about 80 people did the video, but I think there was well over 1,000 people that had actually responded to the post and so forth. So, but but it's open, so people can jump in even after the course had started.
Mine's on
Great.
positive psych, and the reason why I chose that one is because this is the first time I'm teaching psych for, this semester, and it's one of our topics that I have to teach, so it just helps me with content knowledge and understanding. It's actually really interesting, especially when you're overwhelmed. So
Yes. And we know you have all this free time to do these things, Tina. So
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Right. All right, Cheryl, you want to wrap this up?
I don't know what else to say. What is there to wrap up? Did we cover everything?
Yeah, well, you mentioned Common Core and so forth, and that if why don't we say this? We're officially done. Congratulations, you guys fulfilled your obligation. But if anybody else wants to stay and hang out and talk, I believe Storm, you wanted to jump in when we said Common Core. I'm happy to hang out, but if people have to go because it's 8 o'clock.
I want to give a shout out to Krista for having her official Yukon colors on. There's a game going on tonight. Our women are playing, and I know I'm going to be watching.
Go Huskies.
Go Huskies.
Great. All right, so if people need to go for it. Thank you very much. And
Thanks, everybody.
Looking forward to reading all about your Cycle Bead projects.
Hey, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right, I'm hanging out if anybody wants to. If people want to talk or not, I'm going to stop the broadcast